Hey guys, welcome back. It's been a week since my last video, and you know what that means? We're 168 hours closer to the Halo Infinite reveal. And I'm not gonna lie, at this point, my levels of worry and nervousness are rapidly overtaking my excitement. Halo Infinite is one of the most important games that Xbox has ever made. Not only does the long-term success of their flagship IP franchise ride on it, Halo of course, but the success of their next generation console does as well. There's so much riding on the success of this game. There's zero room for error or missing features or for a lackluster experience. And at the same time, they've got to compete with Sony's next-gen experiences, which, so far, are quite frankly looking absolutely stellar. 343 have got a lot of boxes to tick when it comes to Halo Infinite, and today I want to go through 7 of them that I think are absolutely crucial to this game's success. So if you enjoy and agree with any of my points, then don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if for some really weird reason you haven't done so yet, and follow the Twitch through rock and metal and time. So let's begin the countdown of 7 features that Halo Infinite needs at launch, emphasis on the at launch, to be successful. Coming in at the number 7 spot, we have something that I personally think people sleep on quite a lot: a good UI. Now, the user interface, I feel like, is one of the biggest parts of your first impression of a game, and as we know, first impressions are everything. And so far, 343's UIs have, to be quite frank, been absolutely god-awful compared to Bungie's. As a whole, they've been just clunky, unintuitive, slow and unresponsive, not very aesthetically pleasing, and all in all, just difficult to navigate compared to Bungie's UIs. Personally, when it comes to Halo UIs and menus, I really think that Halo 3 and Halo Reach nailed it, Reach in particular. Not that that's a rare opinion to find in the Halo community, but there's a reason for that. Just like all of Bungie's Halo UIs, they were laid out vertically as opposed to 343's typically horizontal UIs, which to me actually makes a lot of sense. Now, it might seem really pedantic at first, but what laying it out vertically does is it allows things to be sorted into very easy, convenient to navigate drop-down menus, as opposed to whatever the hell Halo 4 and MCC's UIs were trying to do. And of course, they were also responsive, had quick, smooth transitions, were easy to navigate, and also really easy to switch between submenus. Not having to back out all the way to the main menu just to switch between campaign and multiplayer was such an underrated feature. And then of course, Reach took all of this to the next level and went even further, adding an active roster that, again, was very quick and very smooth to navigate, all while showing you countless pieces of important information: who your friend was in a party with, what they were playing, whether they were joinable, and of course, not only a preview of their emblem and their rank, but also their custom Spartan or Elite. Honestly, right, it baffles me that no title since Reach has implemented a feature like this. I mean, Halo 4 technically tried, and in my opinion failed quite badly, with those weird looking Spartan card things that look like trading cards, and MCC does have an active roster, but there's no way to preview someone Spartan or Elite, like, at all. And Halo 5, well, I think it's best that we leave Halo 5 undiscussed. With the very welcome addition of stances to Halo's customization now, which, by the way, is something that I feel like people sleep on quite a lot. Stances are a really, really cool addition. It's such a shame that it's almost impossible to see your friend's Spartans in the menu. And that, along with almost everything else, is something that Infinite's UIs and menus need to take from Halo 3's and Reach's. Honestly, Infinite's UI, in my opinion, should just take direct, almost obvious inspiration from both of these, and should take absolutely nothing from Halo 4, MCC, and Halo 5's UI, in my opinion, of course. It needs to be a clean UI, it needs to be easy to navigate, responsive, and intuitive. All things that Halo 3 and Halo Reach's UIs were and more. Now, it's impossible to follow in the footsteps of Anoj and make a Halo countdown or top 10 or whatever without having a few honourable mentions in there. And today's first honourable mention is something that is by no means like a necessary feature, but it's something that I would absolutely love to see, and it's something that I think a lot of people would love to see as well, and it's tied directly to the UI. So, ironically, of all the games to do this, it was Black Ops 3. So, in that game's menu, there was a jukebox, which contained every single song from all of Treyarch's COD games, from BO3 to World at War, including the zombie songs as well. And what you could do is go into the jukebox and then change the main menu music to any song ever included in a Treyarch game. Now, think how sick, how unbelievably cool that would be with Halo. The ability to change the menu music to literally any song from Combat Evolved, Halo 2, 3, ODST, Reach 4, 5, Wars 2, the remasters, Spartan Strike and Spartan Assault, etc, etc. There is unlimited potential there. I really think it'd be a great addition. Like I said, it's not necessary by any means, the game will not die because it doesn't have a jukebox, but I think it's just a feature that a lot of people would appreciate, and one that I imagine wouldn't be too difficult to add. Coming in at the number 6 spot, we have a renewed focus in Halo's theatre mode. Now, we live in a time right now where content creation, be it videos or live streams, is bigger than ever, and markets games to audiences of like hundreds of millions of potential players at absolutely no cost whatsoever to the developer or the publisher. And with that in mind, it utterly baffles me that Halo's theatre mode has been left by the wayside since 343 took over, especially since in those years, content creation has really exploded, and theatre mode is the perfect tool to facilitate and help that growth. One of the many hallmark innovations Halo 3 brought to the industry was the inclusion of theatre, a tool that allowed you to replay any game, be it multiplayer, campaign, or Forge, from any perspective that you'd like, and then either take screenshots or record highlighted clips and save them, and then share them with friends and the world. Some of these screenshots went on to be downloaded over 7 million times. Film clips ended up being used in machinimas with tens of millions of views, and the tool as a whole was literally responsible for creating some of the biggest organizations in the industry. Rooster Teeth would not be where they are right now without Halo 3's theatre. Same goes for Machinima too, but we don't talk about those guys anymore. Yet, since 343 took over, campaign support and also I believe Forge support for theatre has been completely stripped away, the file share system attached to it has been all but forgotten, and theatre mode has shipped with countless game-breaking bugs that, quite frankly, make it unusable at the worst of times, and they never got fixed. It's honestly just insanity to me. I don't get it, dude. I really don't. Theatre in Infinite needs to ship in the best state it ever has done before. It needs, for starters, to actually work. It needs to be compatible with all modes, including Campaign and Forge. It needs a competent, functioning file share system tied to it, and if you ask me, it needs to catch up with the rest of the industry. Ironically, while Halo has been forgetting about theatre mode, of all franchises, Call of Duty has been innovating on what Bungie started. The innovation lead that Halo once had with theatre has been totally blown. Black Ops 2, for example, took it a massive step further and allowed people to export clips to YouTube, create dolly cams for smooth transitions around a map, add extra lighting to a map, and more. 343 needs to treat theatre as an absolute first-class citizen when it comes to Halo modes. Treat it less like a clip or like game reviewing tool, and more like a video making / photo mode hybrid, and if they do so properly, the potential level of exponential growth is infinite. Pun definitely intended. At number 5, we have a satisfying and rewarding progression system and ranking system. Now, I think that this one is a real no-brainer, but I don't care, I'm gonna mention it anyway. Satisfying progression and skill ranking are two of the most important things to keep people playing your game long term, and it's something that, honestly, I really think that Halo's dropped the ball on since Reach. In terms of progression and XP, Halo 3 did it best, and you won't ever be able to convince me otherwise. Gaining 1 XP for a win, 0 for a loss or a tie, and losing 1 for quitting was simple to understand and consistent, and at the same time, also fed into an incredibly satisfying set of levels. Now, this is one area in which I think Reach actually did do really well at. The military ranks in Halo 3 and Reach were honestly perfect. infinitely more unique and interesting than these boring-ass numbers in Halo 4 and Halo 5, and added that little bit of depth and almost individuality to what really was just a simple progression system. Another really big thing is having a post-game XP screen to provide visual, satisfying, and at the end of the day, just cool feedback for your feats in the game. Now, Halo Reach and Halo 4 did this really well, and it was totally absent from Halo 5 for whatever reason, and MCC's is okay, I guess, but nothing like Reach's or Halo 4's. You combine a really cool screen like that with your Spartan visible with military ranks that make it look as if your Spartan is literally ascending up the ranks of the UNSC as you win games, with Halo 3's simple to understand yet satisfying XP system, and an overall progression system where reaching the max rank doesn't require like Halo 5 levels of playtime, but at the same time isn't anywhere near as quick as Halo 4, and you've got yourself a winner. And then in regard to the actual skill ranks, not the progression ranks, just make sure that, like progression, they actually work, they have satisfying visual feedback, they have cool icons that people actually want to grind and improve their play to reach, and again, like your progression rank, are displayed clearly on your profile for other people to see, and at the end of the day, for you to show off, not hidden away in some sub menu. Again, in that regard, Halo 3 did it best. The feature in our number 4 spot is one that ties in very nicely, in fact, with both the number 5 and number 3 spots. Halo Infinite needs to have groundbreaking character customization. This is one of the many features once triumphed and industry-led by Halo that has since fallen by the wayside. Now, I don't think I need to elaborate on why Halo 5's customization was so bad. It's 2020 after all, but suffice to say, it can't happen again. As I've already mentioned, Halo needs to renew its focus on player expression, and character customization is the #1 way to do that. It goes without saying that Reach's customization should, and according to Chris Lee, will essentially be the basis for Infinite's customization. But in my opinion, it can't just settle on being as good as Reach's, it needs to be better. For starters, bring back playable elites, but bring them back in style. Give the elites the exact same level and depth of customization as Spartans, like Halo 3 but on steroids. Not only does this massively boost the amount of options for player expression, but also works wonders for things like the machinima community and content creation in general, which is crucial to a game's long-term success nowadays. And then on top of that, honestly, it'd just be really damn cool to be able to customize elites on the same level as we customize our Spartans. Another super important thing that ties in heavily with customization is how the armor pieces and other cosmetics are actually unlocked in the first place. Now again, this goes without saying, but the only inspiration they should take from Halo 5 with this is how not to do this. Ironically, Halo 5's beta had objectively superior unlocks than the actual game. You unlocked armor for hitting a certain level. Wow, how crazy. And that is one thing that I think Infinite should definitely do. That said, that shouldn't be the only way to unlock armor. The way Halo 3, and actually even more so Halo 4 did it, was really, really good. Honestly, Halo 4's unlock system in particular gets slept on really, really hard. It was basically Halo 3's, but expanded, rewarding you with armor and also those armor skins for completing commendations and also a few achievements as well. I think the ideal unlock system that would make people want to return to the game and keep on playing it is a combination of Halo 3, Halo 4, and Halo 5's beta unlock systems. Some armor should be unlocked for hitting a certain level. Others should be unlocked for completing commendations and achievements. And for the love of God, can we actually get a reward for finishing the game on Legendary this time, please? Something that should have absolutely nothing to do with customization and the unlock system, however, are microtransactions. And how fitting is it that in our number 3 spot, we have an ethical microtransaction system? It's almost as if I spend time writing these videos to make them flow nicely. Now, the reason I have ethical in 3 inverted commas and bold is because frankly, no microtransaction system is ethical. Developers don't just decide, like, spontaneously, oh, let's add monetization to our games. They're added so that investors and publishers can maximize profits, hence why they often replace beloved unlock systems from previous games. Not to name any names. They're always going to be intrusive because they're designed to be so they can make as much money as possible. For example, in Halo 5's beta, like I said, you unlocked armor by hitting certain levels, whereas in the final game, it was soft-locked, or in some cases even hard-locked behind a paywall. This is textbook intrusive. Don't let anyone ever convince you that Halo 5's micros weren't intrusive just because it was possible to randomly earn them through gameplay. Ripping out Halo's unlock system and adding a microtransaction system in place is objectively intrusive. However, something that we've sadly just got to come to terms with is that there's frankly a 0% chance that Infinite won't have microtransactions of some sort. At the end of the day, it's a AAA games as a service game. They're gonna be there. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and try and predict what the microtransactions will be like or say how they should be handled. Instead, what I want to do is touch on how they shouldn't be handled. The last thing Infinite needs at launch is a microtransaction controversy that gets people like Young Ye and Angry Joe and Jim Sterling and the like all up in arms, making video after video after video to an audience of hundreds of thousands of people about why Infinite's microtransaction system is bad. That is the last thing the game needs. So, firstly, the microtransaction system has to be ancillary to the primary armor unlock system. It cannot in any way be integrated into the unlock system, nor can it under any circumstance replace it. There's got to be no randomness involved in it whatsoever. You need to get exactly what you pay for. Thankfully, Chris Lee's comments in 2018 seem to suggest that this won't be the case. And lastly, the pricing needs to be fair. No ridiculous $20 weapon skins or $30 armor skins. And I've already said this, but I'm going to say it again. Do not lock armor behind money. Do not do it. And yeah, that's about it. Just don't pull a Halo 5 and don't replace previously beloved features with pay-to-skip heavily monetized garbage. Lord of the Rings is sadly the latest IP to fall victim to this bastardized modern gaming trend, and honestly, seeing Lord of the Rings, seeing Tolkien's work have that done to it, hurts my very soul as someone who's been a fan of Lord of the Rings his entire life, and the last thing that I or anybody else needs is for Halo to do it again. Please don't. Our second honourable mention for this video is grass. As Marksman absolutely just delicately points out in this comment, the game will quite literally be dead on arrival if it doesn't have grass. I mean, one of the biggest games of all time, Modern Warfare 2, had so many references to grass. I mean, look at this. If Halo Infinite doesn't do something like this, then honestly, I'm done with Halo. Like, I don't see the point in sticking around anymore. If Halo Infinite doesn't have grass, then this series is dead. Flat out, dead. Done. Donezo. End of. So, in the penultimate spot at number 2, we have a good story. Now, this absolutely goes without saying, but Halo Infinite needs to have a good story. To quite literally millions of people, Halo is its story, more so than anything. It's the thing that keeps them invested in not just one Halo game, but the Halo franchise as a whole, and obviously Halo 5 seriously dropped the ball in that regard. However, at the same time, this also creates an opportunity. An opportunity for a true narrative renaissance that not only pulls in people who lost interest in Halo over the years or lost interest thanks to Halo 5, but also people who have never even played Halo or have ever even been interested in playing it. If you don't know what I mean, then take a look at God of War 2018, for example. I always knew that God of War was a franchise that existed, but I was never really that interested in playing it. But God of War 2018, a narrative renaissance for the franchise, has me really, really interested, and at some point, whenever I get the time, I really want to play it. Another great example of this is Resident Evil. So Resident Evil 6 was basically that franchise's Halo 5. So, you know what Capcom did? They took a 5-year break from major titles and came back in 2017 with Resident Evil 7, a game that actually bears a fair few similarities to Infinite. In many ways, it was a return to Resident Evil's form, but at the same time, it was also a renaissance for the game, narrative included. And now, the series is absolutely soaring again. Everybody loves a good comeback story, and Resident Evil in particular is a fantastic example of how a series can course correct itself after a rough patch. And if Halo Infinite's narrative can deliver, removing the sort of general pessimism that surrounds Halo's story post-Halo 5, it'd do wonders in getting general audiences back into Halo's story again, and hopefully, provided it sets us up for the future as well, gets people invested long term again and gets them hyped for the next story. Another thing that I just want to briefly mention as well that relates to the story is the campaign. One of my big hopes for Infinite is that the campaign actually has replayability. Now, I don't know if this is just me, but no campaign since really Halo 3 has had any replayability at all for me. Like, I must have played Combat Evolved, Halo 2 and Halo 3's campaigns, honestly, maybe even thousands of times, and everything since, maybe 20 times at most, and that's pushing it. I just don't find replaying any of them that fun or engaging. Partly due to the level design, the weapon sandbox, the enemy design, etc. There's a lot that goes into that, but I just thought I'd mention it here because, for obvious reasons, having a replayable campaign is a huge deal for a game's success, and I'd love to see Halo Infinite return to CE, Halo 2, and Halo 3's level of replayability. And our final honourable mention for today is, again, not something that I necessarily think Infinite needs to ensure success, but I think it'd definitely help. A renewed focus on PvE Halo modes like Firefight. Now, I've mentioned it before, but I'm gonna say it again, so brace yourself. I was never the biggest fan of Firefight. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't dislike it by any means. I just never choose to play Firefight in ODST or Reach over either Gears Horde or Zombies. Firefight was always missing something that Zombies and Horde had in abundance that just had me hooked on them, but that's besides the point. Warzone Firefight in Halo 5 was not Firefight. People may have enjoyed it, and that's cool and all. Honestly, I kinda did every now and then, but it wasn't the Firefight that millions of people seem to love. I'd love to see 343 really invest in PvE Halo modes like Firefight again, like traditional Firefight. Build on it, expand it, maybe even add Forge compatibility, and then also create new modes like Firefight that emphasize and revolve around Halo's fantastic enemy design. Something that I think was really slept on was Terminus Firefight in Halo Wars 2. That was by an absolute mile my favourite iteration of Firefight, and I really think that a lot of the elements of that could be taken and put into a first-person shooter scenario and could make a really cool sort of spin-off of Firefight. I just feel like there's so much untapped potential with Halo PvE modes, and I'm sure that there are a lot of us out there that would love to see 343 tap into it. And coming in at the number one spot, we have a feature. It's not really a feature, but it's something that I think we can all agree is the single most important thing that Infinite needs, absolutely needs, to be successful. A complete, feature-rich launch. This game needs to launch packed full of features that appeal to as many different groups of Halo fans as possible. We cannot have a repeat of Halo 5 where the game launches with less content than a game that came out in 2007. We need, including but not limited to, a full comprehensive campaign and a narrative that feels complete yet leaves little breadcrumbs along the way to get us thinking and theorizing about the future. Breadcrumbs that won't become forgotten and irrelevant in a few years, mind you. A multiplayer that is packed full of all the staple Halo game modes that you would expect from a Halo game, as well as new ones. Maps of all varying size, scale, and setting, and a large number of varied playlists that highlight all the best the multiplayer suite has to offer, and that also appeal to as many communities as possible. A satisfying, rewarding, and most importantly, addictive progression system and ranking system, Firefight, fully functioning and enhanced Forge and Theater, the Halo 5 Customs browser, file share, and more. As a game, Halo 5 as a whole was far too competitive focused. Now, don't get me wrong, I am a massive fan of Halo esports. Have been for what is over a decade now, and that community is extremely important. but it felt like they were the only focus of Halo 5, and I really feel like that turned a lot of people, a lot of other Halo fans and types of Halo fans away from the game. Casual-oriented content is equally as important. Things like Big Team Battle, Action Sack, and other more chill, fun game modes. The game needs ranked and social to be as separated as they were in Halo 3. That disparity was perfect. The same goes for the campaign as well. The campaign needs to launch with all of the added extras that people expect from Halo. Campaign scoring, campaign timing, leaderboards for speedrunners, full co-op functionality, schools, and terminals. Now, I know this might seem like a lot, but Infinite is an exceptionally important video game. It needs to target as many bases of Halo fans as possible, along with adding a large number of new features in almost every facet of the game to not only keep the game fresh for long-term fans like us, but to also entice in new fans to play as well. 343 have got to try and strike that ever-elusive balance between appeasing long-term fans and bringing in new fans, and I think the best way to do that is to offer up the best, most feature-rich, and, above all, the most Halo experience the franchise has ever offered. Embrace Halo's traditions and features that made it the over $5 billion franchise that it is today, and then build upon them in natural ways and make sure that they're there for launch. And if you do, I have no doubt that this game will be a roaring success. And so, that's it. 7 features that I believe Halo Infinite needs at launch to succeed. The latter being the most crucial. I think we can all agree on that one. At the end of the day, this game is monumental for not only the Halo franchise, but for the Xbox Series X as a whole, and with the competition that it has brewing on the other side of the aisle, it needs to come out swinging like Babe Ruth. Yep, you heard right, a Brit just made a baseball reference. Can you believe it? But yeah, that's all I have for today, fellas. I want to give a huge thank you to DarkBlur2005 for becoming a new Primordial over on the Patreon, along with, of course, everybody else who continues to support me over there. And thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I'll catch you in the next one.